proceed to the next slide to give further background. We just plotted the ASEAN grouping, where the geographical location of this is, because this is geographically where it is marked. Is it this green? It should be green. Those maybe colorblind, yes. And just to ensure that we locate it and understand the geopolitical economic setup in order to fully understand why it is so important for us and where it is located. Next slide, please. From here, we just want to demonstrate as background, of course, just to picture the diversity of this grouping, looking at the GDP, the population, as well as the GDP per capita for each of the member states. And as honorable members will see, that we're dealing with a region or sub-region that is very diverse in nature, both in all dynamics, so important, be it population-wise, next slide, please, as well as GDP. We're dealing with the size of GDP, Asia diverse in nature, both in GDP as well as in population, but not necessarily in per capita GDP for each of the members. So, but if you look at Singapore, we'll see that small population, but the GDP somewhat bigger, but most importantly, the GDP per capita is in that state. So by way of using this is to indicate that it's as diverse as we, as South Africa, would always look forward to, because diversity is the recipe for good things to happen. I may pass this quickly. It was just an indication, but also to give a picture, so that honorable members in the background have the idea of why and how we are tapping into this market. Next slide, please. So having said that, we did an analysis of our trade with ASEAN, and just to illustrate the point that looking at our export profile using the 5-year intervals, which we believe is a very reasonable measurement to a trend, to look at the trend. So we look from 2004 up to 2019 in the 5 pages, exponential growth of 13% on average annually, and therefore it means it is something that we can say it is on a growing paradigm. So while our exports to ASEAN may look very meager as 2.8%, but we should understand that this happened when we did not have this kind of the relationship we are actually trying to formalize. The same will apply to imports, which follow similar growth trends, except that as a country, we buy more from ASEAN than we sell to the region. This balance we need to make going forward once we have acceded, so that we can pursue other avenues to ensure that we maximize and balance the trade there. Next slide, please. And then our strategy of engagement, it was touched by first the Honorable Chair in her opening remarks, as well as Honorable Deputy Minister in her introductory remarks as well. But our economic strategy with respect to this region focuses in particular on these big markets, not that we do it at the expense of others, but these are the markets from which we can tap more, because it is a bigger market of the region. That is Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam. This is more informed by the value and volume of trade and investment opportunities. So through this approach, we seek to obtain collaborative engagements in sectors such as automobiles and automobile parts, mineral beneficiation, agro-processing, aquaculture, energy, ICT, and textiles, among others. There are more other value chains, but we just look at this that we believe are our competitive advantages. So we believe that closer association through accession to this Treaty of Amity and Cooperation will enable South Africa to engage the bloc to address these key issues. I must indicate then that upfront to indicate that, you see, when we look at the principles of this ASEAN grouping, we look at a formation that has more or less similar principles such as ours, such as, for example, mutual respect for the independence, sovereignty, and equality, territorial integrity, national identity of all nations. These are some of the values that we prize very high. Things like the right of every state to lead its national existence free from external interference, non-interference in the internal affairs. All those kinds of things together with our known values are the things that are attractive, and therefore we can, in our language, call them soft power elements of pursuing foreign relations. So the purpose of this presentation, honorable members, I was just doing a background because the main thrust of my presentation is to actually motivate why South Africa should prize this acceding to this treaty as important. So we are here to inform the Honorable Committee about the approval by all the nations in this grouping for South Africa to accede to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation as a high contracting party and to request approval thereof. Next slide, please. So over and above what I've just indicated earlier by way of introduction, and I'm not going to delve much into this, but just to indicate that acceding to the treaty will come with these benefits to us. First and foremost, collaboration with an organization dedicated to what we aspire most, which is economic growth and a growing hub of consumer demand. Honorable members will notice that it is one region that has consistently been growing its economy on an average of 5% upwards, as opposed to what we have become accustomed to, both in our country and from our traditional friends up in the north or west. So this has been a consistently growing economic region. But more than anything else, a facilitation of our national economic interest and utilization of this region as a source of skills development. One of our most important dire, if I may, need for us to do is to upskill our youth in particular in order to ensure that they are absorbed in the labor market. And this, we believe, if we have a closer cooperation, we can utilize our future relationship to advantage in order to source skills there. But basically, and most importantly, close to our own national interest is the promotion of the South-South cooperation and further enhance cooperation on regional and global challenges. We cannot face the scourges of the current episodes and pandemic if we do not secure more broader friends and using economies of scale to ensure that this is one of the ways in which we try to spread our wings in order to get ourselves higher than where we are. For the sake of time, and indeed because it has been indicated in the introductory remarks by both the honorables, I may not have to repeat what the ASEAN grouping is, because it has already been alluded to. But maybe go to the slide, next slide. Next one, please, where we're looking in these imperatives, such as the fact that, as all will know, there's been a big shift in economic power, which has shifted from the west to the east. And this is a well-known fact that everybody is familiar with, and therefore, this is a very prime reason why we should also seek to tap on that kind of shift and ensure that we benefit from such. So this region also offers numerous opportunities. From those slides I've indicated there, we have shown that the population of the region is 620 million. But besides that, we note that the consumer market is not rands, but US dollars, 1.2 trillion. In rands, it could be zillions, probably. And then the combined GDP of 3 trillion US dollars, with an average growth rate of 6%, 5.9, which is of course 6% in other words, and a foreign direct investment total of 121 US dollars, billion US dollars. So as it was indicated, and it is well known that the first treaty was signed in Indonesia, and as I said earlier, and I was looking at this point, that the spirit there was to create peace, amity itself, which is friendship, and achieve development and prosperity in the region, which are all the values that we as South Africa, we can say we share with. And through accession, the non-Asian states are actively encouraged to enhance cooperative relations with ASEAN. There are many as we speak now, but we want to be part of them as an associate member or a non-ASEAN state, member to the treaty itself. So going forward, next slide. As I indicated earlier, and which I want to emphasize here, South Africa ASEAN total trade in the last 2 years amounted to 123 billion. A split between export and import would be 40 exports and 84 billion. I spoke about this imbalance, which we want to close, because we importing more than they do from us and more than we're exporting to them. But our purpose and wish is to ensure that the trade balance is closed, and you can only achieve it when you are in there. So the envisaged partnership with ASEAN is aimed at, among others things, honorable members, improving access for our goods and services to that market, that thus reducing the trade deficit, as I've alluded to. And it should be recalled and noted that this is a compound, because we deal with each country in trade, but when we do to the group as part of an associate member, we would be able to explore further to ensure that we benefit from our association. I'm not going to take longer because I wish the first shot should come when the DM is still around. But to just go in towards conclusion, I will just repeat what I said earlier and indicate that we believe that skills development in critical economic sectors will support our initiatives to improve our productive capability. But more than anything else, we believe it will be something that we can do in stages, whereby The ultimate goal is to become a dialogue partner, of course, depending on the assessment of our qualification upon accession, because by this signing, if it is fully approved, then we'll become a high contracting party, which constitutes the first step towards becoming a full dialogue partner. And as a dialogue partner, honorable members, our country will enjoy a consultative relationship with ASEAN in areas of common interest and participate in various summits which take place biannually. I submit, and thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, Honorable Chair members. I submit.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Do you have anything else to add?
No. It's okay. We'll hear from the members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable members, given that the Deputy Minister has limited time for us, I'm going to propose that we go into asking questions of clarity and or making any comments that members would like to make. If you can give me an indication whether you have any questions or any comments. All members? I've noted Honorable Ngita.
Okay, I've got a question, Chair.
Honorable Zandamela. Okay, I'll go with those two then. Honorable Ngita.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me appreciate both presentation by the Deputy Minister as well as the DG. Mine is just one question, Chair. It's on the issue of skills development. The DG's presentation talks more about the issue of, in my view, issue of skills development. And in South Africa, it has been a cry that we have serious shortage of skills. One is more interested to know which areas they are focusing on skills development. You would like to know the skills that they are referring to, are they relevant to the need of the country? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ngita. Honorable Zandamela.
No, thanks, Chair. The first question that I would have loved to ask, I'm covered by Honorable.
Honorable DODOVU, do you also want to make a comment or ask a question? But you need to mute for now. Honorable Zandamela, please continue.
Okay, no, thanks. I just on the slide the total trade between South Africa and ASEAN, that's about 128 billion, and I see the exports on the part of South Africa, it's only 40 billion. So if maybe they can just give clarity there, what is it that the department is going to do so that maybe we try to balance or maybe come closer to the imports that we are doing as a country from that region. And I know that we are dealing with the ASEAN part of Asia, but I wanted to check with the department or ask, is there any form of treaty or agreements that they are doing with Africa? Thank you, Chair.
And maybe to add to that, the SADC as well. Honorable DODOVU, did you have a question? No? Okay. Thank you. I think from my side, Deputy Minister, I just want to know that in terms of this presentation, while it looks at the economic prospects, and it also shows that there's huge potential for South Africa, especially given the fact that there's a shift between the West to the East. But just in terms of human rights records of these countries, how is that matter being dealt with in terms of this treaty? And I just want to know, in terms of issues like justice, whether we have, whether those aspects are covered in this treaty, in terms of justice cooperation, and what exactly is entailed in that. And I think my final question relates more around being the fact that we, the National Council of Provinces, and our interest is also around provincial interests in the national sphere of government. Are there any twinning agreements between these countries and provinces or municipalities or cities? And how would these agreements be affected by this treaty? And probably, Deputy Minister, this is also a matter that we would consider taking further with the department, especially around whether the department does have a comprehensive list of agreements between provinces, municipalities, or cities, and how are these agreements actually monitored? I think those are the questions from my side, Deputy Minister. Is there any other honourable member who has a question? I would want the Deputy Minister to respond because she also needs to leave the meeting. If there's no other
Chair,
member.
Just one, Chair.
Honourable Mthethwa.
Chair, and the presentation is also talking about critical economic sectors, but I missed the other part of the presentation. I would like to know from the presenter, which is the DG, what are those sectors that they've identified in this partnership treaty that we're talking about? Which are those? Again, you want to check if the sectors are they relevant for us to be able to build the economy of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Mthethwa. Deputy Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I will politically answer the questions that are politically relevant to me, and the official will put details on that. On the issues of skills development, what is happening, because some of the countries that are here within the ASEAN, we have got agreement. We've got a bilateral agreement with them. And one example that I will put is that Singapore, we have an agreement with Singapore on capacity building. Capacity building in all respects, in technology and also in infrastructure. So now these are some of the things that are happening even outside the treaty. But now when we have the treaty, now we'll also access the other countries that we never had more dealing with them. The second issue, Chairperson, is that do we have any treaty with African countries? I think the officials will answer that one. The issues of human rights, Chairperson, well, we are also helping each other, like we've got bilaterals, many countries in the world, but our standpoint is known in terms of our constitution that in South Africa, human rights violation, it's unconstitutional and it's a crime, but they all know that. But then when there are issues in those different countries where we've got bilateral with, our stand is always say they must sit down and resolve the problem than violating human rights of other people. We have agreement, a bilateral agreement with China. We are discussing with China to sit down and resolve issues that are alleged by the EU of human rights, especially in Hong Kong. So we are helping them to deal with that particular situation. But we're not going to tell them, like, bilaterally, it's really discussing, helping them, motivating them to do certain things that they're not doing. On the issues of provincial interest, yes, the provinces have got agreements, they've got twinning agreements, and there's a lot that is happening. But all these years, as a department, we're not able to monitor them. But after the passing of the Foreign Services Bill, Act, now we are compelled as a department to make sure that we put together all the agreements that are lying around in provinces and municipalities and monitor the progress and also indicate to Parliament that this one is not working, also indicate to them and help them to do better. Because as it stands now, everybody's flying upside down, going anywhere, signing agreement, provinces signing agreement, they're not honored, municipalities signing agreement are not honored. But now we've been given a mandate by the passing of the Foreign Services Act. So we'll be monitoring them. Thank you very much, Chair. I'll hand over to the DG to answer other questions.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Minister. DG?
Honorable Chair, may I request that my colleagues who I think they're itching to say something from the desk, just to pick up a few, I'll round up there, if this will be agreed to.
Please.
Cindy?
Please continue.
Cindy, you are given the floor. Thank you. Cindy? It seems they are not there. Okay. Seems they are disconnected, but I'll move ahead without some of the actually my DM has touched them.
I think Cindy is online.
Okay, I'll give her.
She is unmuted, but I don't know why she's not speaking. Cindy? DG, I think she might be having a problem. Please continue.
She's trying to talk. I was just talking to her over the phone. She's trying to talk, but let me go ahead. She will come in if it's possible. Perhaps one should go to just to follow up, to add to what my boss has indicated. With respect to the provincial agreements, MOUs, let me start to indicate that indeed our Foreign Service Act has just been approved. Assented to. We're in the process of working on the implementation modalities. Part of it is to coordinate all spheres on this various field, including agreements, MOUs. In the department, we have a treaty section. All treaties and other related agreements, etc., are to be deposited in one repository hosted in the department. However, in the absence of legislation, some were done outside and therefore could not be monitored, and they could not be binding in the fact that they may not have done following appropriate channels, because we are a unitary state in the first place, which means the center should be the avenue through which everything is done. We have made an audit of such, and we are looking at that. We have a structure that we are inviting all provinces, including legislatures, by the way, even Parliament, Secretary of Parliament, where we discussed last year, and we'll come to this year, to ensure that we synergize all our international work, but most importantly, to ensure that provincial related twinning agreements, etc., are given effect to by means of supporting and helping them, and even in helping them how to craft them, or those that may bind or not binding. So the NCOP, I believe, is going to be a critical oversight mechanism to ensure that provincial interests are actually catered for in whatever we do. And part of this treaty, once it is acceded to and once it is there, it is to be there for the benefit of the users. The 9 provinces have different offerings, which could be catered for in different ways, not only in this area, but in any other area where, as a country, when we coordinate properly, we can ensure that that happens. Another addition I would have to make to what my boss has indicated. Yes, in each of the member states of the ASEAN, there are indeed issues of human rights. And there has been an issue. Actually, it's one weakness that we pick up from the formation that has not gone very well, which means part of our coming in could perhaps to boost that area, so that while I indicated some principles that attract us, we can emphasize that part of our DNA as a country is human rights, and therefore we cannot cohabitate with any other way. So the truth of the matter is that it is, as has been alluded to, but we believe that it is a matter that when nations come together and when we formalize our other relations, each one teaches one, and therefore the emphasis, because the attempts that we know have been tried in there for human rights has not succeeded. We noted that, but it is not at crisis level. I believe my boss adequately covered the issue of skills development, but I must indicate here that we pointed out skills because part of why our economy is said not to be growing is because due to historical factors, etc., we did not have opportunity of making sure that skills are leveled. And therefore, we believe that one of the key issues, like what we have with individual states, countries, such as what the DM has indicated, in particular of Singapore, which is helping us in most cases about economic diplomacy and other soft skills. But we believe with exchange programs that will be targeted and more specific to those that we believe, such as ICT. We are very much into ocean economy, and therefore we would want to ensure that we identify, because as a department, as government, we will not tell the people what they should learn. We will take advantage of what people want and ensure that we package them, both at bilateral as well as at this plurilateral level. The other one, if I didn't skip, is that of the total trade. There is an imbalance, yes. When we compare, it is really, the gap is too big to fill. But our hope and aim, and in our new strategic orientation, strategic plan and APP, we have targeted one of the areas as to develop country-specific strategies, so that if we are Southeast Asia, we look at a regional strategy to say, what are the things that we can do to turn the tide in our favor in a particular area? Part of our economic situation in South Africa is that the trade with our traditional partners was skewed because we're only trading in raw materials. But some of the countries that could be recipient of value-added goods are this market, among others. And therefore, we believe that once we are in there, and we can use, as I said earlier, economies of scale, we can identify those niche areas which we can emphasize and advise our missions first, and then our departments, because DERCO's function is to facilitate, is to coordinate, is to open doors, so that they can identify those things that can advance our trade better, and therefore make sure that our other goods and services are traded with to keep a balance. We are talking about this ASEAN, but this does not negate the others that we have. We do have, not at treaty level, because we have different mechanisms. Some we just call structured bilateral mechanism. It can be a binational commission, a joint economic cooperation, economic partnership agreement, etc. And we do have one, for example, South Africa is one of the few individual countries that has a partnership with EU, but in the continent as recent as this year, in fact, it was delayed. The AfCFTA, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, is one such mechanism, though it is not a treaty itself, but it is an economic cooperation mechanism that ensures that we improve intra-Africa trade, so that we don't always talk about trade with others when we don't trade much with one another, whereby we can be in a better position to tap on that. I don't know if I missed something. Maybe Cindy now was coming. I'm trying to look at my notes. If there is anything I've left out, I will be pleased to go back to it. I thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members and Honorable DM.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. I'm not sure if you want to add anything else, but I propose that we just do a follow-up so that you can then wrap up and we can release you, because I see it's getting closer to 10 o'clock. But just from my side, Deputy Minister, I think we look forward to getting that list of the various treaties and agreements that are being entered into by provinces, so that as we do our oversight in provinces, we're able to also look into those matters. Honorable members, is there any follow-up question? Honorable Motsamai?
Me too, Chair.
Yes, Chairperson.
Okay, so we will go Honorable Motsamai, Honorable Mikolakis, Honorable Nita, in that order. Honorable Motsamai.
Chairperson, ne ke batla go botsa gore ya ka ba kgona go kopana le Singapore bo China yana. Mona re na crime tse ngata, especially the crime tsa go bolaya batho, ebe batho ba ba bolaileng batho ba ba sa kgone go tholagala, and re be le di cases tse tshwanang le tsa corruption, fraud e ngata e etsagalang mona. A ba le tlhatlhella ba le fa bohlale le gore le tsebe gore batho ba ba etsang dilo tse tshwanang le tsena re ka ba bona yang ba tswella dikgote ba thwele dikatlholo tse di ba tshwannang, ka gobane nako e ngata ga gona batho ba e leng gore ba ya dikgote ba tshwarwa. Ne ke batla gore Deputy Minister ka mfetisa fela mo. Ke a leboga.
Thank you, Honorable Motsamai. Honorable Mikolakis.
Thank you, Chair. I first want to beg your leave. I've got some screen issues, so I'm going to keep my screen the way that it is. Chairperson, my comment is just with regards to the comments earlier made by the DG and the Deputy Minister with regards to the human rights questions. Now, I understand that this treaty is mainly focused on trade, but I do just want to make this one comment, and I would like the Deputy Minister's response to it, and that is that I get the sense that the department, although it does pay lip service to the fact that our international relations should be based on the principles of human rights, that it doesn't always follow the same standards when it comes to all countries. In this example, the department says that we follow a different approach. Each one teaches one, and we're willing to enter into agreements with such countries and try on a diplomatic basis to address problems of human rights abuses with them. But then there are other countries who are alleged to also be guilty of such violations, which the department wouldn't touch, and quite frankly uses every opportunity to criticize them, which is correct. But my problem is just that if we treat one country that violates human rights abuses rightly so, by criticizing them, then we should be consistent in doing that with regards to all countries, not enter into agreements on matters that might compromise our principles with those countries. I do understand this is mostly a trade agreement, but I am picking up a bit of hypocrisy from the department, and I would like to ask the Deputy Minister's comments on this. But if we condemn human rights abuses, we must treat every single country who is guilty of it with the same approach. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mikulakis. Honorable Mthethwa.
Thanks, Chair. Mine is to appreciate the point that was raised by the Minister. And I'm quite excited about the fact that we're able to pass an act that empowers them to coordinate, Chair, the partnerships that are forged, whether by departments or else by municipalities. Because you find a situation where 3 municipalities, they have partnership with a certain country doing different things without a proper coordination, and also a province that has the same agreement or partnership with a country with no, again, coordination. So I wish the department will look at that so that these partnerships, they end up being helpful and also delivering the goods for the country and also for those provinces and municipalities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mthethwa. Deputy Minister, if I can hand over to you.
Honorable
I know your
DODOVU,
time
Chair.
is... Okay, Honorable DODOVU, come in, please.
Yes, I'm sorry about
that. Chair.
Mthethwa. Please, Honorable DODOVU.
Yes, just a second. Honorable Chair.
Please continue.
I'm a bit disturbed by what the department is saying in respect of its lack of ability to monitor the twinning agreements, especially those that are entered into by different provinces and the municipalities. For me, this is a matter of serious concern because I don't understand, and the presenter has not indicated to the committee what are the actual reasons why these municipalities and provinces are not monitored as they are supposed to, and why the department has not done that. I'm saying this because we all know that underpinning the principles of the international relations include the fact that there ought to be integrity, territorial integrity and sovereignty, as well as the issues of human rights that must always be adhered to, and that we cannot just willy-nilly enter into agreements with other countries that do not subscribe to those particular principles. And in this particular instance, the department is not saying to us exactly why have they not monitored the twinning agreements that are concluded by the different provinces and the municipalities. And they need to inform this committee what is it in practical terms that the department is doing to ensure that it arrests this situation, because it cannot be accepted. We cannot find ourselves as a country entering into agreements or allowing our municipalities or provinces entering into agreements with dubious, with countries that do not subscribe to human rights, that do not do things in the manner that is congruent with what we expect them to do as a country. And what is it that they need to do to address this particular issue? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable DODOVU. Honorable Mthethwa.
No, thank you, Chair. Mine is almost similar to DODOVU, but I want just to raise to the department that there is no treaty for municipality or provinces. All these treaties talk to South Africa. So for them, I think they must prioritize this issue of coordination, that one province goes to deal with the same treaties. Almost the provincial one and the municipality one are quite different, talk to different things. But if you look at the broader picture, all these treaties are treaties of South Africa. So the coordination from the national level, it can assist us and also even guide for all this agreement to say, look, don't go beyond this point because this is the agreement that is existing. Surely there are some research problems in these treaties. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mthethwa. Honorable members and Deputy Minister, you'll agree with me that when it comes to other agreements and treaties with provinces, we're going to have a further engagement with the department on the matter. So I would perhaps ask you maybe just to focus on the other issues that members have raised that is related to the current treaty. Thank you. Deputy Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just want to explain to the members that a treaty it's an agreement that a country is making to participate in an association of a group of countries that have put together an association so that as South Africa, we can participate in that association and also open a way of trade, open a way of discussion on certain issue in the association. As an individual country, South Africa, now we have applied to participate in the ASEAN. That's the association. So now provinces and municipalities, when we implement the treaty, they implement it in terms of agreement. Either it's a memorandum of understanding with a certain province in a certain country, or it will be just a twinning agreement with a certain province or a certain municipality in a country. So now, I think these are two different things. I agree with you, Chair, that we need, after the passing of the Foreign Services Act, we are compelled, because previously we're not compelled, to make sure, because as much as we communicate with municipalities, we communicate with the provinces, but they were not compelled to give us reports. But now this legislation that has been passed and signed by the president, it compels all municipalities, all provincial department, all provincial government, and all national departments to account to us on any agreement that they've done with a certain country and what is it that they've benefited. I agree with you, Chairperson, that we need to present such report to the NCOP because you concern about the provincial interaction and also monitor them. As they said, they are benefiting. When you do monitoring, you'll monitor them and see whether really there's anything that they gain out of this agreement and so on. The second issue is the issue of the human rights. I think the honorable member must understand that we are a country with our own constitution. Every country have their own constitution. Our interaction or our relationship with a country is not for us to tell the country what to do, but it is for us to discuss with the country and make sure that they do things that we agree with. But all countries, in terms of human rights, there's a commission in the United Nations that is dealing with that. It is not upon a country, an individual country, to say to a country, you are wrong, we are charging you on this and that. But the UN is the one that is responsible. We are responsible as a friend to advise each other and also to help each other to do things better, but we can't instruct because our relationship is not really instructing each other. We can't really take over a sovereignty of another country. So I think members must understand that we can't go deep the way they said we must go deep. We can't instruct any country, but we can discuss, we can make sure that we help them to do better things. So that's our notion. But the United Nations can instruct the country because that country will be part of that organization. The other issue, well, the member also indicated that no, there are countries that we don't say anything. Well, I don't know which are those countries, and I don't know what is it that the member felt that we didn't say it, but there's no country that is untouchable. Every country that we have got a relation with, we discuss issues with them. So I don't know which one that you're speaking about. On the issue of corruption, because Honorable Motsamai wanted to know that on our relationship with other with other countries, are we really learning how to deal with corruption? Are they really teaching us? Are we really learning good lessons from other countries how to deal with corruption so that we can deal with it here in South Africa? I want to say yes, we are learning. You know, most of our members, whether political or otherwise, we are doing visits to different countries. Sorry. We learn, sorry, Chair. We visit countries, but our legislation here in South Africa is such that if there's any corruption that has happened, it's not something that you must speak about. You must take the information, get to the nearest police station, open a case, give evidence, people will be investigated, arrested, and face the mighty of the law. So that's how people must do, because here in South Africa, most of the time, we just announce that there's corruption. There's nobody who's coming with evidence to say, okay, Deputy Minister, you are corrupt. Here is the document. I'm taking it to the public protector or to the police so that I'm investigated and arrested and face the mighty of the law. So I think, Honorable Member, we can do that and we can help the country because our policies here in South Africa, we said we need all of us to fight corruption. It's not that it's only government that must fight corruption. Every citizen of South Africa must really fight corruption, but the manner of fighting corruption is not really to go to the media and say so and so is corrupt. You must just go to the law agencies and give them information for that issue that you are alleging. It must be investigated and the person must face the mighty of the law in South Africa. To Comrade DODOVU, we didn't say we never monitored the provinces and all that, but we are saying they had a latitude to do their own things. They had latitude to take whatever agreement that we have at national level for them to implement for the benefit of their provinces. But we didn't have legislation that is compelling them to account to the Department of International Relations. But now we have the act. That's why we are saying we are collating all information. We started last year to get all information. We'll be presenting the information to you of all the twinning agreement, all the agreement done by provinces, whether they are profitable or they're not profitable, whether they're helping the province or whether they are implemented, because some of them are sitting there collecting dust, not implemented. So we'll be doing that because of this legislation that we have also passed in the NCOP. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair.
Apologies, I was still on mute. Deputy Minister, does the DG want to respond to any other matter?
The DM covered everything, Honorable Chair.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I see Honorable Dengo wants to also ask a question. Honorable Dengo, if you could quickly do so because the Deputy Minister needs to leave us. Honorable Dengo. Honorable Dengo.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm
we
sorry,
can. Please continue.
I came from another meeting, so my apologies for that. Just to say that what we need to, and what the committee would need to look at, is the question of national interest and the question of values. And how do agreements are based upon values, and what is our national interest there? Let us take national interest, for example, is IPSA, is China and Brazil. I mean, India and Brazil, that we have an association with. At the time we went into agreements with them, there were different governments there. They've changed now. The values may have changed, but our national interest remains. So let me just leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Dango. That was a comment. Deputy Minister, thank you very much for your responses. I don't know if you want to leave us, but honorable members, I think in terms of this treaty itself, I think we can't deny that it would be in our national interest to accede to such a treaty, because not only does it allow us an opportunity to have more potential economic partners in markets, which we can access, but it also allows us to expand our strategic economic reach and allows us to find new markets. And I think we should also note that the 10 Asian countries have a history of diplomatic relations with South Africa. And obviously by entering into such a membership, we would be able to diversify our portfolio of economic opportunities and actors and have more diversity for our exports. I think Honorable Dengo's last comment was also quite important. Honorable members, are there any other deliberations on this treaty that you would like to make at this point? Okay, if there are none other deliberations, honorable members, then please allow me to table the report of the committee. I see some interference, but if you allow us to table the report of the committee, which will go to the House. Gershwin, if you could please share that report. It's a fairly short report which goes to the House of the Select Committee on Security and Justice. The report has been sent to members. And in terms of the report, the Select Committee on Security and Justice, having considered the request for approval by Parliament of South Africa's accession to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia, referred to it, recommends that the House, in terms of Section 231, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, approves the said treaty. Honourable members, can I get a mover for the adoption of the report? Honourable Ngita?
Yes. Chair, I rise to agree with the report.
Thank you, Honourable Ngita. Can I get a seconder of the report? I can hear someone in the background. Hello.
Yes, sir. Honourable Bartlett, sorry, I'm struggling, but I'm seconding.
Honourable Bartlett, thank you. Are there any objections? None. Any abstentions? Okay, if there are no objections or any abstentions, the report is duly adopted. Let me then take this opportunity to thank Deputy Minister and the team from DIRCO for their presentation and participation in this meeting. Thank you very much. Deputy Minister, you released, and as well as the officials, and it will allow us as a committee then to continue with our agenda. Honourable members, the second point on our agenda is the Judicial Matters Amendment Bill. Members will recall in our last meeting, which was held on the 15th of July, we received a briefing from the department on the eight submissions that we had received on the bill. And however, subsequent to that meeting, honourable members, it became clear that due to certain technical challenges that we were experiencing at the time, the department had not received 2 submissions. And hence, members will note that we've given members an updated report from the department, which actually includes those submissions. And largely, those submissions do not make any recommendations to the amendments to the clauses, but they were more general comments, right? So members will also recall that we have thus received 10 submissions, but only 4 were related to the amendments. But there was 1 proposed amendment to the bill which related to clause 2 of the bill. The submission proposed that the 12-month suspension should remain as 6 months as determined by the Constitutional Court. And the department responded that it had considered the 6-month suspension and the commencement of the disciplinary process, but the department informed us that setting up a disciplinary process at times was a lengthy process, and 6 months in those instances would be insufficient time to conclude the process, and hence the 12-month suspension is included in the bill. At that meeting, honourable members were satisfied with the deliberations as well as with the department's response to the submissions. But today, if members have any further deliberations, you're welcome to do so. I'm not sure if there's any member who would want to say anything else to the bill or to the amendments to the bill. If not, members, then I'll propose that you allow me to table the report on the Judicial Matters Amendment Bill for adoption. This report was sent to members prior to this meeting. I think, Gershwin, if you can go down on the report. I think I've covered the background to the report. Okay, the public participation process was covered in the previous meeting, as well as the summary of submissions I've covered now as well. As well as the proposed amendment. Gershwin, if you can go to the recommendation. Our members, in terms of the recommendation in the report, the Select Committee on Security and Justice, having considered the Judicial Matters Amendment Bill B13B 2019, a Section 75 bill, referred to it on the 18th of March 2019 and classified by the Joint Tagging Mechanism as a Section 75 bill, recommends that the Council pass the bill. Can I then, honourable members, are there any additions or corrections that you would want to make to the report? Honourable Dengo, is your hand up from the last time, or are you raising it now? Okay, I take it was up from the last time. If there's no amendments, honourable members, then can I get a mover for the adoption of the report?
Honourable Chair, DODOVU.
Honourable DODOVU, yes, Honourable DODOVU.
I move for the adoption of the report and the bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable DODOVU. Is there any seconder?
I second.
Seconding.
Okay, I got Honourable Mthethwa and Honourable Mfayela. Thank you, honourable members. Are there any objections? None. Any abstentions? None. Okay, thank you, honorable members. The report is duly adopted, and thank you very much for that. Honorable members, we'll now go to the last agenda item, which is the consideration and adoption of minutes. There were 4 sets of minutes that we needed to adopt in this meeting. These minutes were sent to members prior this meeting. We've also requested that if members had any additions or corrections that they would want to make or comments on the minutes, that they should provide it to us. We hadn't received any from honorable members. I want to assume that you were satisfied with the minutes. But if we can look at the minutes, the first set of minutes is dated the 17th of June 2020. Gershwin, if you can share those minutes. Honorable DODOVU, can I request that you mute your microphone?
Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Honorable DODOVU. Honorable members, on the 17th of June 2020, we had a joint meeting with the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services. If we can go to the agenda, in this meeting, honorable members, we received a briefing by the Magistrates Commission on systemic issues in the Commission, as well as the matter of Ms. Freeman, Ms. Albie Freeman. Members will also recall in that meeting that we did not proceed with taking a decision on the Freeman matter, as we had received certain information during the meeting. In that meeting, I think we received apologies from Honorable Dengo, Honorable Mfayela. Obviously, we received an apology from Honorable Goia, but Honorable Moimang, the alternate, was actually present in that meeting. Honorable members, I don't know if you have any additions or corrections you'd like to make to the minutes. You're also allowed to do it now. If not, I will request for a mover for the adoption of the minutes dated the 17th of June, or the minutes that were held on the 17th of June 2020.
I move the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Fayela. Can I get a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you, Honorable Motsamai. Our members, the next set of minutes is dated the 23rd of June, 2020. In this meeting, in terms of attendance, I think we received all members were present. We received an apology from Honorable Mthethwa and Honorable Goia, but Honorable Moimang was also present as an alternate to Honorable Goia in this meeting. Our members, in that meeting, we got a briefing from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development on the recognition of customary marriages amendment bill. We also had a briefing on the prescription in civil and criminal matters, the sexual offences amendment bill. And we had also considered, I think, 7 sets of minutes in that meeting. For the Section 76 bill process, we also had representatives present from the Eastern Cape, Free State, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, the Northwest, and the Western Cape. Members, are there any additions that you would like to make to the minutes of this meeting, or corrections? And if not, can I then get a mover for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable members?
No, Chair, with me, I ended up joining that meeting.
Oh, you joined the meeting. Oh,
Yes.
Okay. It's possible that they noted you you joined out later. Okay,
Yes,
Honorable
ma'am.
Mthethwa, I think we'll make that correction in terms of attendance. Gershwin or Zolani, if you can note that. And okay, then with that amendment, is there any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
I do, Honorable Chair, DODOVU here.
Thank you, Honorable DODOVU. Can I get a second?
Second, Chair.
Thank you,
Mthethwa,
Honorable
second.
Mthethwa. Thank you, honorable members. The third set of minutes is dated the 25th. It's a meeting that was held on the 25th of June 2020. In terms of attendance, all members were present. I think we received an apology from Honorable Zandamela in that meeting. All members, in this meeting, we received, it was actually a joint meeting with the PC Committee on Justice. It was at this meeting that we received an update from the Magistrates Commission on the suspension or removal from office of Ms. Albie Freeman. And we received progress reports from the Magistrates Commission on 3 other magistrates, which includes the provincial suspension from the office of Mr. M.D. Hinga, the provisional suspension from office of Ms. J.F. van Skalkwyk, and the third person was Mr. E.S. Nzimande. In that meeting, we also dealt with the adoption of all reports, the report related to Magistrate Freeman as well as the Magistrate's Progress Report. Members, are there any additions that you would want to make or corrections to these minutes? Okay, I don't see anyone raising a hand. If there are no additions or corrections, can I move? Is that Honorable DODOVU, are you moving for the adoption?
I thought you had a point where you say you must move for the adoption.
I'm there, Honorable DODOVU.
I move for the adoption.
Thank you, Honorable DODOVU. And if I can get a seconder.
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nita. Honorable members, the final set of minutes is dated the 15th of July, 2020. In this meeting, we received an apology from Honorable Nita, Honorable Fisser, I think Honorable Dengo, and Honorable Mthethwa. Our members, in this meeting, we received a briefing by the Department of Justice on the responses to written submissions to the Judicial Matters Amendment Bill, the bill that we just adopted today. We deliberated and we considered written submissions. And then our members will recall that was the only matter we dealt with while the agenda had minutes. These minutes were deferred and we dealt with the 3 sets of minutes in today's meeting. So our members, if there are any additions or corrections that you would want to make to the minutes, please indicate so. Okay, there's no indication. Are they okay? Then, if there's any member who would then move for the adoption of the minutes. Honourable members.
I move, Honourable Chair. Honourable Bartlett.
Thank you, Honourable Bartlett. Can I get a seconder?
Honourable Chair, I do second.
Thank you, Honourable DODOVU. Thank you, honourable members. I think the minutes are duly adopted. Let me then take this opportunity to thank you for your attendance and participation in this meeting. Clearly, honourable members, we will have a follow-up meeting with the honourable member. Could you please mute your mic? Yeah, honourable members, as I was saying that there will be a need to have a follow-up with the Department of International Relations so that we can deal with some of the outstanding matters that were raised today. With that being said, honourable members, thank you very much, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, honourable members.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chairperson.